Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Bolt Report for another episode of Thunderstruck. My name is Michael Wax, and I am joined once again by a very special guest. Our guest was drafted 181st overall by the Tampa Bay Lightning in the 2024 NHL entry draft. In 3 seasons with the OHL's Flint Firebirds, he put up 30 goals and 37 assists for 67 points in 134 games. This season, he co-leads the Firebirds with 13 goals and is second in points with 26 as of the time of this recording. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Kaden Pitre. Kaden, thank you so much for joining the show.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.
So, as we do with all of our prospects that we have on, we want to start with the NHL draft. And obviously, it's a big day for a lot of you guys, whether it is day one or day two. But what do you remember about your draft process leading into those 2 days?
It was just a lot of family time. I mean, setting it up with my family, trying to organize everybody because obviously we all wanted to be together. My brother, he was in Miami training, and it was sort of hard to see him. But um, yeah, no, I mean, leading up to that, everybody came to my house. We all spent the 2 days, all had fun together, and just yeah, no, that was pretty much it.
What was the initial reaction when you first either got the call or found out on the TV?
It was actually like pretty laggy when it happened. So like it went to like a little intermission sort of, and then came back, and then we saw my name, and I was with my family obviously, and it was a good time. And I mean, it was surreal because like you have that moment where it's like your dream comes true, and like it's in a sense like you're in closer to that process of actually achieving your goal. But yeah, no, like seeing my brother do it, and then actually doing it myself and having that process and getting the call was definitely a surreal moment.
We had Dylan Duke on the show recently, fourth round pick from a couple years ago. He had mentioned that he wasn't even with family, he was training himself. So, definitely fantastic to get two different perspectives on that in our recent interviews. But wanted to ask specifically about the Lightning organization. Who was that first person to reach out to you during this draft process from the organization?
Stacy Roast was the first one. He called me and just welcomed me and everything like that, telling me that um, like welcome to the Bolts and the organization. And then I had a few of the scouts that I did interviews with. They called me after and texted me and talked to them a bit after. And yeah, no, it was definitely a surreal moment. And I mean, can't thank them enough for what they did.
What do you remember them telling you about in terms of your skill set that they really appreciated and why they brought you on?
They said they loved my speed and like my skating ability, and then just the fact that I was a two-way forward as well. And then they brought up a lot about the fact that I was very like cerebral and how it was a lot harder to like teach guys to be more cerebral rather than like get up and go. So that was one of the things that they said to me, and I mean, it's definitely what I think about now and how I can keep on developing those skills and obviously more skills to come.
There was a very limited amount of time between the end of the draft and the start of development camp. What did making those plans look like to try to get yourself down to Tampa?
It was like a lot quicker than I thought it was gonna happen. I mean, especially being on the second day. Like, I remember got the calls and then got in contact with their like travel coordinator,
Mhm.
and like she sent me all of the like plane tickets, the timing, everything, and then it was like, all right, like I gotta pack, like I gotta get ready, and it was just sort of like boom, 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 and just everything was like right away, and I mean. It was very, very organized, which I couldn't be more thankful for as well because it made it a lot easier for me.
First impressions of Tampa.
Very hot. I loved it though. Not used to it. But yeah, no, it was a great spot, great organization, and it was just a great experience overall.
From an on ice perspective, I know the camp wasn't very long, but who's a player that you felt you had developed at least a modicum of on ice chemistry with during those couple days?
Um, I mean, probably Eathn Hay, just because he used to play for the team, so like my team in Flint,
Mhm.
so it was a lot easier just to sort of pick that back up where I was playing with him, and then um, playing with obviously you're playing with the best guys in the world, so it definitely made it a lot easier to play with guys who all knew what they were doing and like knew where to be in the right spots, and it went a lot. It went very very smoothly to play.
Now, I know you just mentioned Ethan. You guys played together for the past two seasons before his trade over to Saginaw.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously, you guys will have a bit of a break between being teammates between Flint and being on the Lightning. But what can you bring, or what can you guys as a duo bring that you remember that you can possibly bring to more of a professional level?
I think we're both very like in the same sense, very like two-way centers.
Mhm.
I think, obviously he's a good player, and um, the fact of like he's very good at face-offs, which is very noticeable. And I think like seeing him, and then from my standpoint of like being a little bit more offensive, well, just bringing sort of like the two-way game of being good defensively and offensively, and just sort of like being a steady pair.
Is there a bit of a bragging rights that you were drafted ahead of him?
No, I don't think really where you got drafted or like the number really matters, to be honest. The whole point of the draft, I think, is just who gets a shot. So it's like when you're drafted, like it's sort of everybody's sort of the same by then. It's just you have a chance, and whoever does the best with that chance is gonna succeed the most. So uh, I don't think I really put too much effort into how high I was drafted or where I was drafted, or but
When the fact that he was a year ahead of you in terms of the draft process, when both of you guys am members of the Lightning, what was he able to teach you as far as an organizational standpoint?
um I think like when I got there actually in Tampa with him, I think it was a lot of the fact of just sort of getting to know the other guys. Obviously him being there a year earlier, being in like development camp, he saw a lot of the guys that were there the previous year. So I think just like seeing him and seeing the other guys and becoming friends with them, and like sort of getting more comfortable with the organization itself, I think definitely made a huge impact for me.
So, well, let's go from what you've done to very similarly or very recently what you've done. A very viral clip has gone out recently of a goal against Brampton. What or how often do you practice those curl and drags?
Not often. I don't think you really have a lot of times where that play is sort of available. Uh,
Mhm.
they're called highlights for a reason, but I think it's definitely just more so practicing like stick handling, and then just being comfortable to make that play when the play's there. Um, I wouldn't say that like I take any like particular sort of time to actually practice toe drags or like the move to the inside. It's more so like, you might try it and practice a few times just to see if it'll work, but it's definitely a lot easier to do in a game, I find, than in practice.
So, going back to things that you've mentioned earlier, two-way center, very responsible defensively. Um, Hockey itself is a very unselfish game. There's five guys on the ice plus the goaltender. Puck needs to move around a lot. In those decisions or in those split seconds, what leads to the decision of even as a defensively responsible center going and making that solo effort?
Um, I think it's just taking space where you see it. I mean, as a player, every player, like if they see space or like have the ability to skate, I mean, it's definitely a lot easier. I think just being aware of your surroundings. Like we were 4-on-4, and all their players sort of backed off, so it was definitely a lot easier where I knew I had the time and space, and I didn't have to be so uh like back or like rely on myself defensively because they were out of the zone. So it just sort of was like, if I'm really going to take the puck, I need to be able to make comfortable play and then just focus on not turning it over and then them coming back the opposite way. So um, yeah, no, I think it's just like being aware of your surroundings is more so the split second decision of if you can do it or not.
Absolutely. So, 3 years on Flint, but let's go from, the second year to this year. What's the biggest lesson that you've taken from last year to implement into your game this year?
I think just to try and play with pace all the time, like as like Tampa being the one thing that they like was my skating, just like constantly skating, moving my feet, and just keeping like the pace up. Because I mean, you see guys where they're super successful in the NHL itself, like McDavid, he never stopped skating. McKinnon, like they never stopped skating. It's like you look at those guys and the guys that like you model your game after, like try to implement some of the things that they do. And I think that's definitely one thing that like I'm trying to be more consistent about is just like always having my feet moving every single game and just like always skating.
Being one of the better skaters, as you talked about in the organization, having pride in your skating. There are a lot of guys that maybe don't have those skating accolades in the organization. That's why they spend a lot of time with people like Barb Underhill. But with those lessons from Coach Underhill, how are you progressing ahead of everybody else in terms of what you're learning?
I think just constantly doing it. I mean, uh, like Tracy, another skating coach with Tampa, she's been down quite a few times this year. I think it's around three. Like I see them probably every month. So I think definitely just like taking the lessons that she teaches me and then implementing them every practice, even if it's like for the first like 15 minutes of a practice, just to like get your stride down or like make sure your form's proper, like whatever it is. And then, I mean, they do things that will help off ice as well with your stride, and they send me some stuff. So I think just being consistent with that definitely helps.
And then we see this all the time with a multitude of sports, whether it's, baseball swings, hockey, skating, basketball shot form. There's a tendency to try to revert to what you know rather than kind of learning a new step. I know you mentioned consistency in practice, but when you're in the games and maybe you are starting to learn something new. How can you do that in terms of not having to think about it with such a quick, fast moving mental sport?
Uh, I would say just like continuously doing it. I mean, it's sort of like part of the reason why often when you're like super fatigued, that's when you revert back to your like just how you normally do it. But it's because it's such like a habit in your brain that makes you go back to what you think and like what you normally do. And I think if you do it often enough and just try to make that sort of your habit, I think that's where like you slowly start to see the change where your skating becomes more like how you practice it rather than how you were before.
Absolutely. So, as we look ahead to the second half of Flint season, I know already you've had that highlight reel goal, but what is one goal for yourself that you're looking to have for the rest of this campaign?
Um, I think just to be consistent, I'm not really too focused on anything like Like I don't have any sort of number of points or anything like that. Like I want to achieve. I think it's just more so like playing the right way and playing consistent. Because like if you do that, points and stuff like that will come. It's not really too much of an ask. So I think just being consistent with how I've been playing and just continuing that every single game rather than like being consistent maybe like 3 games in a row and then maybe not consistent for 2 games and then 3 games in a row, 2 games. Like instead of having that like back and forth, just being steady the whole time.
And then we got a couple of quick fire questions before we get to our actual quick fire, which is our Bolt Report Lightning Minute. But I want to know in more of a in-depth answer instead of the quick questions. First of all, what is the goal in your hockey career that you look back at the most?
Oh, oh. uh Honestly, I'm not sure. I think there was maybe one in minor hockey. Um I think I picked the puck up from my end and I sort of just did like I don't know. I walked 3 of their players. I forget exactly what happened. I think I just um but and then scored. I think it's definitely hard because it was a while ago to remember that, but I'm
Mhm.
pretty like I slipped it onto the one guy's stick. Did one of those toe drags that I did against Brampton and then just put it through the other guy's legs and then shot it and scored. But I mean, yeah, I don't remember the exact details of it. I think it was just a really like highlight reel goal where they don't happen like super often, but it's definitely a feel good moment when they do.
And then, if you do any sort of, research onto Flint's Instagram page, one of the first things you see is your game day fits. They love posting your game day fits.
Yeah.
So I want to ask, what's been your favorite one, either this season or last season that you've done?
Oh. Um, I'm honestly not sure. I think I love the combo right now of like all black with my burgundy jacket. Uh,
Mhm.
that's very just like classic, clean look. Same with like, I mean, an all black suit is always like classic. I think probably my favorite one would be my light blue. I have like this light blue suit. I don't wear it too often because I don't want it to get dirty or anything. So I'm kind
Mhm.
of, especially with it being like winter and it get more slushy. Uh,
Mhm.
but yeah, no, I would probably say the light blue one would be my favorite.
Absolutely. So let's go into our lightning minute. This is our quick fire where we ask everybody that is a guest on the show a series of questions, no explanation required. Just give us the first thing that pops into your head. We get this number wrong every time. I want to say the winner, though, or the leader right now is Gabby Shirley, the Lightning sideline reporter, with 12. So if you could beat 12, fantastic. If not, you could probably beat a couple other people that we've had on the show because they
Yeah.
get stuck around a couple.
Oh,
So, are you ready?
yeah.
All right. Timer will start when I finish the first question.
Okay.
Favorite hockey player?
McDavid.
Favorite goal to or go to goal celebration?
Probably like the bow and arrow.
Favorite pregame meal?
Chicken and pasta.
Favorite hockey game you've watched?
Uh, Probably game. I mean, Stanley Cup's playoffs. What was the game? Uh, Probably game Edmonton versus Florida, game 6. I want to say 6.
Favorite Lightning jersey?
The black, like the one that they wear now. I don't know the black.
Favorite activity outside of hockey?
Golf.
Favorite song to listen to?
Uh, God, I don't know. Get me some of that by Thomas Rhett.
And that was our timer. All right, so just quick math. I'm not great at math, but that was 7. You actually tied Dylan Duke, who recently did this as well. So, you know, our leaderboard probably stays the same, but again, hope you had a little bit of fun doing that as well.
Yeah.
Guys, that's going to do it for us on this edition of Thunderstruck. Huge thanks to Kaden for coming on the show. If you like this video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and make sure you turn on that bell for notifications so you don't miss out on future videos just like this one. And we'll talk to you in the next one. Go Bolts!